The editors-in-chief of both The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald have announced they're stepping down. The Age's Paul Ramage has made it clear that his decision is in no way an indication that he disagrees with the restructure announcement, that major restructure announcement of last week. Well, to discuss the developments, I'm joined now by business editor Peter Ryan. Pete, welcome. Has this come as a bit of a surprise? We had the major announcement last week in terms of 1,900 jobs. Has this come a bit out of the blue?
Hasn't come out of the blue. Fairfax made it pretty clear when it made the big announcements last week that there would be other announcements to be made, and it's only taken a week, and it's just been the last couple of minutes we've had confirmation from Fairfax Media that at the Sydney Morning Herald, the publisher and editor-in-chief Peter Fray is stepping down. The editor of the Sydney Morning Herald, Amanda Wilson, is also stepping down. At The Age in Melbourne, the editor-in-chief Paul Ramage is stepping down. So these are quite remarkable developments. Three top newspaper executives going in the one day.
And are there any indications in what's been said so far as to whether they were pushed, or this is them deciding in unison that they're going to leave?
It seems that Fairfax is preparing to announce a major change to the way that editors and editors-in-chief operate at The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald. At the moment, both the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age in Melbourne effectively operate like separate, distinct companies within the publishing empire of Fairfax. It seems that Fairfax is working on a plan to have an umbrella of editors-in-chief who will be overseeing how the mastheads operate. There's clearly a lot of details that need to go with this, but no doubt Fairfax will be unveiling this, and according to the release that we've just had here, that there will be key editorial announcements made tomorrow in relation to the way that Paul Ramage in Melbourne and Peter Fray and Amanda Wilson will be replaced in Sydney.
And while Paul Ramage has said clearly I do this with divided feelings, apart from that there is no evidence of bad blood between the editors-in-chief and the greater management of the Fairfax organisation.
Well, we're only reading what we have from the official statement here, and also from what what has been relayed to me from the floor of The Age via Twitter, but also via a few phone conversations that in Melbourne, Paul Ramage is saying that he is moving on, it's time to go, but he doesn't have any dispute about the restructure plans announced. But clearly, the timing is not the best for any of these three who are going, who up until this time last week probably thought they were in very, very secure jobs. Yeah,
and I noticed, I think it was Stephen Mayne on Twitter said this is, he can't think of a situation before where this has happened, where there's been The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald editors-in-chief go at the same time, and a huge loss, particularly Peter Fray. Has there been any indication of dissatisfaction with these editors' jobs, the job that they've been doing previously? Because from Twitter it seems to be the case that there's a fair bit of praise for them.
Well, that's right. Look, I put comments on Twitter to one side, but I think that it's very clear that these very senior editorial executives have had the future outlined to them. They've had their current roles and the way their roles might change outlined to them. They've weighed everything up and they've decided that that's not something that they want to stick around for, or at least that's what we're being formally told in the official statements. But clearly, on the sidelines of this, there's the whole corporate boardroom struggle, where Gina Reinhardt is pushing for 3 seats on the Fairfax board, and also we understand the right to have some editorial sway, which would include the way that editors are hired and fired. One would think that this is mainly about Fairfax getting a plan in place to ensure that there are logical replacements in these roles before Mrs. Reinhardt gets to the position where she might seek greater ownership of the company.